Big Muddy Mayhem, the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Janet O'Brien.
I'm Tracey Laricha.
Hello!
Hello, Janet. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Everything is thawed out and we're together again.
I know.
Oh.
Sorry about skipping the week, folks, but we kind of had zero control over that.
We really did. There was a fair amount of snow and ice.
Yes.
And, man, I just started a new job, and I was even out like Monday and Tuesday of last week. I'm just like, hey.
Can't do anything.
The buses are shut down. Sorry, can't get to you from there. Although, I will say, just up top, as much as we are like griping about the snow, our muddy buddies in California.
Yes.
We are thinking of you, and just, man, there's very little we can do other than to just kind of look and watch and support the people that are helping.
Right, exactly.
And just, know that we're sending all of our big muddy love to you.
Absolutely.
And we would send you this goddamn snow if we could.
Right. But, you know.
But here we are.
And I think I start first today.
I think that you do. And oh my goodness. Okay. So Janet let us down a wild one last week, and now we're picking up.
Right.
Janet, is there anything that you would give as just like short cliff notes?
I would say the cliff notes is that we already know for a fact that around the turn of the century in Decatur, Illinois, there are these 2 lovely couples who moved in with each other, and then one of the
McCoole.
Yeah, McCoole and McNier.
McNier, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
McNier and McCoole.
Right. So Ed and Pearl and William and Cora. Those are the 2 couples, and you want to go back and listen to the episode previous to this, promise.
Right.
But what basically led up to the fact that William and Pearl were definitely having a thing. They were writing to each other constantly in Decatur, Illinois, and Cora was sick of it. So
there is some near cool going on, or some cool near going on, and not everybody is into it.
Right, and Ed heard all the rumors, Pearl's husband, and so he really tried to say, well, okay, I hope this isn't really true, but Cora was sick of it because she was around it too much. So
right.
So at the end of my last episode, Cora decides that she's going to not spend the night at her husband's house. She's going to go around the corner over to her friend Beulah's house and spend the night there because she's sick of it. So
and we pick up from here.
Exactly.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Get your cocoa boys and girls. Tuck yourselves in. Auntie Janet's going to tell us a story.
I have a story. So, part 2. Ed, Pearl's husband, decided to call a meeting over at Beulah and Leonard's house.
Okay.
He's like, Cora's already over there. Let me get William and Pearl over there. We're going to all sit down. We're going to have a conversation about this because Ed wanted to protect his wife's reputation.
Right.
From all the rumors that his wife was apparently going around with another person's
So
husband.
all of the people involved are
they're all there.
Right there.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he did not like the rumors being spread around about Pearl and William. Cora told Ed everything that she saw over the last few weeks during this meeting that they had, and about how Pearl and William, she found them holding hands when William was sick, and how William pronounced his love to Pearl under his feverish,
Right, exactly. When he was very sick, instead of asking for his wife, he is asking for
Pearl,
his mistress.
Exactly. So he declares his love for Pearl, but then, of course, blows that off, saying, I was sick, and I was on morphine, and that's what caused it. So William, of course, denies again that he had any of that kind of feeling for Pearl. He's like, He's like, I respect her as a friend, but, I don't have those types of feelings for Pearl. So when Ed asked Pearl who she wanted to be with, Pearl hesitated.
Oh.
Pearl took some time to answer, and then finally she said, listen, I would never leave you, Ed. I feel really bad for everything. Why don't we just,
wipe the slate,
start anew.
Over.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Because Ed doesn't want to leave Pearl. And Pearl doesn't really want to leave Ed, and Pearl is very confused because she's had thoughts, as the last story, that she thought probably this wasn't a great idea, but William kept saying no, trying to convince her to stay.
I don't love this for Pearl.
No, I don't. It's not good for her.
Not starting out. I just, my gut instinct?
Yeah. So Ed thought maybe they could still live together, but Cora refused to move back in if Pearl was going to be under the same roof.
Oh.
So Cora spent the night over at Beulah and Leonard's, and the next day she got on a train and she left to go to her parents' house in Chicago. So Cora was like, see ya, I'm done. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Ed and Pearl...
Her parents are like, gosh, we thought we married you off.
Right. And then Ed and Pearl, they decide, well, if she's gone, we probably shouldn't stay there either. So Ed and Pearl end up renting a room in another part of the city, on the other side of the city.
Okay.
That weekend, Pearl and Ed did fun things to put everything behind them. They went to the circus. They went to dinner with a friend. They ended up going to a baseball game. They did all sorts of stuff. And when they, at the end of the night, they decided to go back to the house just to pick up a couple of things before they go back to the room they rented. For Ed, life seemed like it was going back to normal. However, William's life was in shambles. He lost his wife and his girlfriend in the same day.
Right, well.
And
whose fault is that?
I know. William wrote Cora begging her to come back, and Pearl and Ed, because Pearl and Ed would no longer be living under the same roof, and that he would tell Pearl it's over. William also put some blame on Pearl, because of course he did, and said it would have, it wouldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't for her.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's my wife's fault that I cheated on her.
So Monday morning, they go back over to the house on Church Street to get the rest of their stuff. William tries to talk to Pearl while the two of them are there, and then Pearl steps in between them and says, we are going to be leaving town. Because I want to save both of our marriages, and I need you to never speak to Pearl again.
Oh, wow.
Ed asked what happened, Ed asked again where they would be going. And William's like, that's none of your business. Pearl has admitted that she did love William at some point, but Ed's like, you're not going to talk anymore, and that's just that. That's the end,
Right, well, you would think.
Right.
Like, all right, listen, this was a bad idea. This went badly for everyone. I am taking my wife. We are relocating. We are going to rebuild. You are an agent of chaos. We don't want you in our lives anymore.
Exactly. And then Ed tells William it would be best if he never speaks to Pearl again, or he will kill him. So Ed is just like, okay, I'm taking my wife back, and if you talk to her again, it's over. So he threatens that he's going to kill William.
Oh, wow.
But what does William do? William ends up reaching into his pocket, pulling out a gun, putting it on the counter, and says, well, if you plan on killing me, if you plan on shooting me, you better have a quick draw. And then he picks up his gun and he puts it back in his pocket and he leaves. So Ed is like, okay, I did threaten to kill him, but he just showed me his gun. He's like, I never said how I was gonna kill him, but William already has a gun on him, and he's like, oh.
So now it's like a pistol measuring contest and a dick measuring contest at the same time.
Exactly.
Mine's bigger than yours is. Mine's bigger than yours is. Like, all the way around.
So what does Ed do later that afternoon? He goes to the pawn shop and purchases a gun for $3.
Bigger gun. Right? It's bigger, isn't it?
I have no idea.
I bet it is. I'll bet you that $3 is.
Oh, so then William, he goes back home, and then he's thinking this through, and he's like, I do still have feelings with Pearl. I can't put this out of my head. So he writes a letter, doesn't send it. He writes a letter to Cora telling him, okay, I do have feelings for this woman, and then he's just like, yeah, I have strong feelings for Pearl, but I was never planning to leave you. So he's starting to admit.
So he journals this, but does not send it.
Right. Then
my therapist says that's actually really healthy. I'm just kidding. Who can afford fucking health insurance in this country?
So then he writes a letter to Ed reinstating, you better be a quick shot. Again, never sends the letter. Oh. Just put that in your little pocket that he's written these 2 letters. One professing his love for Ed's wife to his own wife.
Why does BetterHelp not sponsor us?
And then writing another letter going, yeah, I'm a quick shooter. So that's not good. Back in the rented room, Pearl is upset that she will never see William again. So she grabs some paper and she grabs a pencil and she hides herself in the bathroom. And she proceeds to write a letter. And then when she's done with the letter, she takes
to her imaginary therapist.
I know. She writes a letter to William.
Do you feel like they're just leaving these around the house for the other one to find? Like, dear nobody, my husband is such an asshole.
So she writes a letter to William, basically stating we can still keep in touch. This is where we're going, and I do have feelings for you. And she takes the pencil and sticks it in her hair. And when she comes out of the bathroom, Ed notices there's a pencil stuck in her hair, and he's like, "Hand it over. Where's the letter? I know you went in there and wrote him a letter." He knows. He's like, "What? That pencil was not there when you walked in the other room, and now it is. Hand it over."
That's...
He's like, I know you just wrote him a letter.
If he had paid that kind of attention to her in the first place, they never would have found themselves in this situation.
Well, remember, he was out of town 5 days a week.
True. But have you ever, Janet, really quickly, just a quick aside, have you never, do you put your hair up with a pencil every so often?
No, I don't.
I can't. It's long enough. I do. Okay. Hold on.
Okay, I'll take a picture too.
So, just from the back, because I'm not.
Here
but anyway, hold on.
She's putting the pencil in her hair, folks.
It's a pen in this case. But I do this all the time.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
If your hair is at least shoulder length,
you can do that.
Then, I do that, and it stays this way. I'm just saying. I am on her side. A pencil through your hair doesn't mean a thing.
Well,
I am absolutely not cheating on my boyfriend. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
So William's like, hand it over. I know you just wrote him a letter. And Pearl, she's like, she knows. So she pulls the letter out of her blouse and hands it to him.
Pulls her pen out of her hair.
And he reads it. And then in the letter that she has written to William, she's like, well, when I was still living at your house, all those letters that you sent me, all 16 of them for the past few weeks, I hid them in your house. And here's where they are if you want to keep them.
Oh, so now
Ed knows. It's like, there's 16 other letters?
No.
So he's like, okay. Yeah, that's not great. So he goes over to the house and he ends up finding the 16 other letters.
Wow.
You know. So Ed is a little stressed.
Really?
He's like, okay, what am I digging myself into? So he ends up, instead of staying in the room that they rented, he takes his wife, and they end up going over to Claude. Because remember, Ed originally came over to Decatur, Illinois, to stay with his brother. That's where it all started. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go...
take my wife and go back to my family.
Yeah, but it's still in Decatur. So he goes over there and he's like, listen, we're going to hang out here because I don't know why, but I feel like that she's going to try to leave and they're going to try to go elope somewhere. I don't know why he's thinking this because they're still married. No one's eloping. But he's on edge.
Please don't tell me that she like Max on Claude.
No. No.
I wouldn't put it past her. Yeah. I'm just saying. All right, sorry, okay. Go ahead.
So they end up going back over to his brother. It's basically, it's not his brother's house. His brother lives there. His brother and his brother's wife live with their in-laws. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's over there and they're like, okay, we're going to stay here for the night. And the next morning we are leaving town because I am sick of this. This is terrible.
Right.
So they go over there. And then one of the letters detailed how William had planned to leave Cora for Pearl. Mm-hmm. So him and his brother Claude, they start reading through these 16 letters.
Right.
And that's the letter that sticks out to him. He's like, okay, so he's been lying to me. William's absolutely been lying to me, saying he would never leave Cora, but here's a letter saying he'll leave Cora.
He would.
And so they're like, you know what? We're going to spend one night here. Next morning, we're going to get out of town and we're done. Everyone goes to bed except Ed. Ed has decided he's going to go back one more time over to the Church Street house to grab the last of their things. While that was happening, William is closing up for the night over at the drugstore. It closed around 10 p.m. And during the same time, their old friends, Beulah and Leonard, they have some friends over. They're finishing up a game of cards.
Right, just hanging out. Hosting people.
Exactly. Leonard's sister and her friend Kevin, they end up staying up chatting. So Beulah and Leonard go to sleep. They don't have, no one's, none of those people who were at their house earlier had the big conversation are over there.
Right, so everybody is kind of like,
separated.
Who knows what happens? It's night time.
Right. So Kevin and Leonard's sister are sitting around Beulah's house, and all of a sudden they hear 4 shots and a scream. And the next thing they know, William comes into the house and he says, oh my God, I am dying. I have been shot. And he's like, I don't know who shot me, because he couldn't really see them.
William?
Yes, William has been shot 4 times. So this Kevin guy runs out of the house to go see, find out what happened. And William goes over to Leonard and he's like, I know it was Ed. Ed totally shot me. He's like, we'll get there. Mm-hmm. So Leonard and Beulah, they take William over to the hospital. When he gets over to the hospital, Ed said that he went back. He said that he just believed that it was definitely Ed that shot him. The hospital people are like, we don't think he's going to survive, but we'll do what we can. Mm-hmm. And then Ed ends up going back over to his brother Claude's house, and he's just calm, and he's like, yeah, I just shot William. So he's confessed it.
Completely. So he's like, upfront about it.
He's like, no, I shot him.
He was our number one suspect from the get-go.
Right. So then Ed ends up, he talks to Claude for a little bit. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go head over to the police station, let him know what happened. So Ed walks into the police station while eating a sandwich. And
while
eating a sandwich.
Janet?
Yes?
I have a very important question. Do we know at all? You know what I'm about to ask.
They don't know what the sandwich is.
All right.
I know, but he walked in eating a sandwich.
Okay, one more thing before we get back to it. All right. If you were walking into what you knew was going to be like a conviction,
Yeah.
your last sandwich, your perp walk sandwich, what would you have?
Oh, gosh. It would probably be a BLT.
BLT?
Yeah. Or a French dip. But French dips you can't really walk and eat.
I'm torn between a really good PB&J, or I also really love a turkey and Swiss with mayo and arugula.
Okay.
So there we go. All right. Leave a note in the comments and let us know what your perp walk sandwich would be.
So he walks in calmly eating a sandwich, and he tells the police calmly, he goes, I shot William, but once you hear everything and know why, I will be found innocent. So he is full, he thinks, he's like, you know what? I did it, but I'm going to be found innocent.
I'm coming clean. It's the, wasn't in Texas there was a thing like the whole he needed killing law?
Yeah, I guess.
Like where you could murder somebody if you could prove that they actually needed to be murdered for some reason.
No.
Like there literally was like a he needed killing law in the 1800s.
So William got hit by 2 of the bullets, and
Uh-huh.
a third bullet got lodged in the pile of letters from Pearl in his vest pocket. So the third bullet didn't hit him. Got lodged in the letters in his pocket.
Oh, I love that so much. Like if he had just been less wordy, he would have been dead.
So the doctors could tell he was not going to survive, but they went ahead and rushed him into surgery anyway, thinking maybe we can stop it, or maybe we can cause a miracle. But while he knew he was going to die, he asked for his brother and his friend. He took the letters out of his pocket and says, I don't ever want Cora to see these. Will you tear them up? So they tear up the letters and they put them in the trash can.
And they're already shot with a gun. Like, how many things do we need to do to these letters?
But there's a cop there because this was he was almost murdered. So the cop just went over to the wastebasket and grabbed the torn up letters. He's like, well, we might need these for evidence. And then,
that's smart. Oh my gosh, that is smarter than like 98% of the cops that show up in these stories.
And then the police questioned William, and he began, and then again he denied for having any relationships with Pearl. While this was going on, William at the hospital, he calls his lawyer. He's like, time is running out. I need to draw up a will. They end up drawing up a 1-page will for William to where everything was going to go to Cora. Telegrams were sent out to all of William's family. I believe his mom and his dad came in. His mom apparently came in, saw him, left the hospital room, bawled. They telegrammed Cora while she was up in Chicago, and she actually made it back a couple hours before he passed away. So he was able to see her one more time. Mm-hmm. William died 21 hours after being shot May 5th, 1903.
Oh my God.
Ed was, of course, charged with a murder. Mm-hmm. And then the police,
Why?
I don't know. And then the police, they started going through William's clothing, and they found 2 more letters. The letter where William confessed to Cora that, yes, he was in love with Pearl, and that other letter threatening to kill Ed.
This man just couldn't keep his pen in his pants, could he? Like, none of them.
No, not at all.
Real quick aside, when you were talking about the thick speech.
Yes.
In Milwaukee, that's what I was just looking at. A fast aside, if you look up the presidential speech, Theodore Roosevelt in 1912, just a few years after this, was almost assassinated.
Oh, wow.
During his presidential run, but he had a really thick, long speech in his breast coat pocket.
Oh, I heard about that.
And so the bullet didn't go all the way through. Like it pierced him, but not all the way. And that's when they started the bull moose party. Like, it will
Wow.
take more than that to kill a bull moose. La la la.
Right.
Anyway, now back to our regularly scheduled story. Tracey's History Corner.
No, that's great. I remember that story. I forgot about it. So the media in, thriving, gigantic Decatur, Illinois.
Right.
Decatur is not a huge town.
Huge.
Information started to come out before the trial. Private letters were being published in the newspaper, and people were saying awful things about Pearl because it's always the woman's fault, right?
Oh, totally.
Pearl.
He wouldn't have been driven to that if it weren't for his cheating harlot of a wife.
Well, she was 30, she was married, she should know better. How can you fall for someone at that old of an age?
I heard she wore stockings. And, I mean, it's really hard for me to say this about another woman, but I heard she wore lipstick.
No! Scandalous.
Red lipstick.
Oh, no!
If you know what I mean.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is not World War II. No one is wearing red for the victory. So because of this, Pearl did not attend the trial at all. During the trial, her and Ed were not together, obviously. So let me tell you a little bit about the trial. The prosecution, they said that there was $2,100 that was not accounted for, and they claimed that it must have gone to Pearl, and Ed must have known about this $2,100. I mean, $2,100 in 1903 is what? $21.
And I mean, also, what is it? Like, love survives all things, forgives all things.
So, yeah.
Richer or poorer, even if you're, getting blood money and...
It's still not... Oh, no. Okay. It's like $78,000. Okay, so that's the prosecution is saying, well, there's $2,100 unaccounted for in William's account, and and they're claiming, the prosecution was claiming that Ed knew about it and Pearl knew about it. They said that there was also at the house they found a pile of ashes from a smoked cigar, so they believe, the prosecution said that Ed just waited for William to show up so he could shoot him. And the prosecutor ended saying that this was a cowardly assassination of William. The defense for Ed said, wait a minute, he confessed immediately to it. Let's start there. And they also said William tricked Pearl into falling in love with him, and he had paid, remember the clairvoyant?
Oh my gosh, that's right.
He paid the clairvoyant $2,100
to be like, you should be with someone new.
To tell Pearl that her and William were meant to be, and to make sure that those two letters were, that he could have the two letters that Pearl wanted to send. So they're like, no, the $2,100 was paid to the clairvoyant. Also, Ed was betrayed by William as a friend by seducing his wife, and that William was the aggressor by showing his gun when Ed threatened to kill William. I'm kind of like, you both threatened each other, okay?
It's true. Although, both lawyers are good lawyers.
They are.
They both make a very good point.
Yeah, they do.
Where I'm like, all right, yeah.
William told police he came home after closing at 10 p.m. at the store, and when he went to let his dog out the back door, he said he saw someone in the kitchen and was shot 4 times. But he never actually saw who shot him. It was just implied that he was pretty sure it was
figure,
Ed.
right?
Because it was a dark kitchen.
Right, exactly. Like if you're outside and you see somebody backlit, all you do is see a figure.
And that was a story that the police got from William basically on his deathbed. Now, according to Ed, he went back to the house to get the last of their things, And when he got there, he went up to their old room and he said he
Right.
sat on the bed and he cried. And that was why the pile of ashes were
Oh,
there.
no, because he was there smoking a cigarette and just like, this is the last day of our acquaintance.
Right, and he's crying. You know, he'd been crying apparently on and off all night. And then he went downstairs to the kitchen and he saw William come in. And when William asked who was there, because he saw there was somebody in the kitchen, Ed thought he saw William reaching into his pocket for that gun that he pulled out earlier.
Oh.
So Ed said, so I shot 4 times, and then William just ran out. And when they asked Ed, you know, why did you do that? Ed was like, I was hurt. He was hurt by the whole thing. So, I mean, they both had decent lawyers.
And they, like, man, either one of those things could be true. Like, it's a dark house and you hear somebody and you see them reach. If you have a gun on you, and you're worried for yourself, you could see, like, doing that.
And he already knew he had a gun.
But on the other hand, it could be just like I saw my chance and I took it, and a dead man tells no tales.
Exactly. It could have been either way.
It really, like, man, I don't know how I feel about that.
So, turns out the jury was full of married family men, and they all returned the verdict of not guilty.
Because of course.
Right. So the jurors reported later that if Ed had not killed William, they really feel like William probably would have tried to go after Ed again. Per Claude, Ed's brother, he believed Pearl and Ed were never getting back together. He's like, they're done. There's no way. Yeah, so that was like all recorded in the newspaper right after the verdict. Cora, she ends up, this is what happens after the whole thing. Cora ends up selling William's part of the drugstore to the other owner. Mm-hmm. She gets married for like a year to somebody. It didn't work out. She gets a divorce. She ends up meeting another man by the name of Lloyd Miller in Idaho, and they ended up staying married until his death in 1930. Cora passed in 1956 in a nursing home at the age of 84.
All right. Well,
Ed and Pearl,
yes.
15 days after the verdict, they got back together.
Of course. You know, like, what else are either of them going to do?
Right. So they end up moving to... Ed ends up losing his job that he had because he felt it like was a retaliation kind of... Yeah, it's that thing that you can't get fired for anymore. You can't get fired because of retaliation.
Right.
And
but
he was like, it was definitely fired because
he spoke out.
And he killed someone. So they're like, nope, you're gone. So they get back together. They end up moving to Birmingham, Alabama, where Ed becomes a salesman. And they stay married until Pearl passes away at the age of 58 in 1933.
That's young-ish, even for a 1930. Do we know how she died? No,
it just says she passed. 1947, Ed ends up dying of a heart attack at the age of 75. So, yeah, they end up staying together after he basically killed her lover. We will never actually know, all of it. But I just thought that was an amazing story.
It really is an amazing story. And it makes me think of, so I love Emily Dickinson. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get all like nerdy and English major here. Emily Dickinson says in one of her like letters to somebody that she wrote to when she was just like being a batty ass, like she pretended to be more deft than she was, so she could just live with her dogs and like live on her father's inheritance and wouldn't have to get married. So when she was up in Amherst, she was writing a letter to someone and she says, "The heart wants what it wants, or else it doesn't matter."
Right.
And this is kind of what happened here. Like, sometimes you just find that, like, love like a drug. Or like, oh my God, I'll do anything. And,
right.
And woof. And that seems to be God,
Yeah.
what happened to
But
him?
yeah, William
What a
died.
wild
I
story.
know. I have no idea. It's just so crazy. But
Holy
that's my story.
Well, that was worth the wait.
2 weeks later.
I wish that we had a more satisfying ending for our players here. But
It's what happened.
I know. And also, that story also reminded me that, like, more often than ever, I need to get us some, like, little people so that we can have figures to keep them all clear.
So you have a story for me.
I do have
said
a
I will
story
love
for
it.
you, and I think that you'll like it. I hope. Here we go. Hold on. I am. All right.
Okay.
Janet.
Yes, Tracy.
So it is end of January, beginning of February.
Okay.
This is going to come out like mid-January next week. New Year's is over. Christmas is over.
Yep.
Mardi Gras is kind of getting started, but not like full flavor.
Right.
Valentine's is still ahead of us. This time of the winter year, the doldrums, there is just but one thing to look forward to.
And what is that?
Do you know what that might be?
Easter? I don't know.
Oh no, this time of year.
This time of year?
You don't really love football, do you?
I know football. Oh yeah, well I mean I know the playoffs are happening this weekend, and I know the Super Bowl will be shortly after that.
In a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Right. So Super Bowl.
Yes.
Now I was never a football girly, but my boyfriend played football in high school and watches it religiously, and so I started kind of watching. And then when we went to New Orleans in 2009, I finally was like, oh, I get it now. So Super Bowl is coming up. So I have a football story for us.
Wow. Okay.
And I kind of like that you aren't a huge football fan, because that means you have probably never heard the story of the Kansas City Chiefsaholic.
No, I have not.
I can't wait to tell you. And I have to tell you, this story is so dense and rich that I have had to cut half of it out, at least. But I've got sources for you at the end in case you want to go deeper and want to learn a little more.
Okay.
So, Kansas City Chiefsaholic. Some of these football fans are what they call super fans. People that just show up every time. In baseball, you might have heard of Rainbow Man, that used to show up in the 70s and stuff like that. And so there are fans, and then there are fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kansas City has a really solid fan base.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Out of the NFL, it's maybe one of the best tailgates, maybe one of the best, fan bases.
Yeah, I know people who do that.
In the NFL.
For the Chiefs.
They're loyal, they're fervent. They call themselves the Wolf Pack.
Oh, okay.
And among them, there's a Chiefsaholic.
Okay.
He is at every game. Every single game. Home, away, does not matter.
They just go to all of them. Got it. Okay.
And so, oops, sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my photo.
Yeah, no, I know a couple of people who are really big, huge Chief fans, so absolutely.
All right, so anyway, he's easy to spot. He shows up at every game. Home games, away games. He wears a Kansas City jersey. He also likes to wear, wrestling pants. Okay. I don't know why. And then he also wears... Well, they are... It's a wolf mask. Okay. But it's also kind of like a wolf shirt and arms.
Okay.
Janet, are you ready for this?
Okay, I guess.
Okay.
Here we go.
Wolf mask, shirts, arms. He shows up at every single game.
Oh my god. This is just one guy, right?
Just one guy.
Just one guy.
No, there's just one dude doing this.
Okay.
Can you please describe this photo?
So he's wearing, they really look like pants from the 1980s. They're orange and white.
They're very Z-coverage-y.
Yeah, they look like orange zebra. He's wearing a fanny pack that has the Kansas City Chiefs emblem on it. He's wearing a jersey, a sleeveless jersey that also says Kansas City Chiefs. He's wearing his Kansas City Chiefs baseball hat. And he has basically a whole wolf costume on that at least covers his arms, his neck, and his whole head.
Right, so that's all you see.
He looks like he's a wolf dressed up as a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
And don't read this.
I won't.
Don't.
Oh, yeah, you can see his face.
You can see his eyes.
And that's about it.
And that's it. So, but this guy, he ends up becoming an online presence and an in-game presence.
Okay.
Chiefsaholic is what he is calling himself.
Okay.
He's easy to spot again. The Kansas City jersey, the wrestling pants, the wolf mask.
Yes.
And wolf shirt, arms, whatever. He starts showing up in the games, at the games, in about 2013. By 2018, he's on this kind of newish platform called Instagram.
Oh!
By 2019, he's on another one called Twitter.
Ah.
He ends up with 50,000 plus followers, which, Janet, you and I would put on wolf jerseys if we could get to 50,000 followers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, hey, wherever it is that you are listening, please do rate and review us. The fans look for him at games. He shows up one time with a broken ankle. He's on...
Oh my god! Oh, one of those scooter thingies.
No, he's on crutches, but
Oh
he's
my God.
still with a broken ankle. He's yeah, I broke my ankle, but I still had to show up for my team. And so he's still there. People mob him for photos.
Oh, I bet.
He always walks in costume, which how that happens with security, I have no idea, but it is what it is. Nobody knows who he is apart from online.
Oh my gosh.
And people mob him for photos, which reminds me of the time that Ask Ryder sometime to tell you about how I accidentally chucked some kid into the boards at a fish fry because I was trying to get my picture taken with Sharky the mascot. I love Sharky. I do too. I have a photo with me and Sharky, and Ryder was just you just hip checked a second grader into a table, right? Look, I haven't lived a perfect life.
But if you're going to a fish fry and there's a person dressed up as a shark, you're gonna try to go get your picture taken with them.
I haven't lived a perfect life, but neither has our hero,
Okay.
the Chiefsaholic. So he is online. He says he's a warehouse manager.
Uh-huh.
He also says that he seems to be making a bunch of money. He does a lot of sports betting.
Oh, okay.
Much of it on football.
Of course.
And much of it other just kind of sports betting. But he posts all of his ticket wins. There's one time that he bets on a Chiefs game and there's some third string player that they don't think is going to do anything. He might not even play in the game.
Ah.
And he bets $1,000 and is this guy's going to make a touchdown in this game. And the odds are 18 to 1.
Oh, wow.
So he puts $1,000 down, which means when in the fourth quarter they throw this third string quarterback in and he makes the play, So, boom, $18,000 for
Wow.
this guy. So, he says he's a warehouse manager, and he also does seem to, like, always win.
Okay.
And he's really brave. Like, he makes big bets. So, people are like, all right, well, that must be how he's managing to be able to be at all the games.
Sure.
Is that he's making a whole lot of money in sports betting. Sports news cameras start to seek him out at the games, like, woo, like, hey, there's the Chiefsaholic, the Wolfman, woo woo, you know.
Right.
It's like spotting Fredbird, like.
Oh, yeah.
And the Chiefs don't really have a mascot, so this is kind of
Yeah.
their mascot.
Right.
In 2020, he's on the field when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
In fact, apparently, I couldn't find this photo online, but apparently somewhere out there is a picture of Kelsey, like, with an arm around him.
Nice.
After they won.
Well, of course.
So people assume that good luck and talent and gambling is what lets him travel. But then, early in 2023, he goes missing.
Uh-oh. That's just, concerning.
All right. Do we want to know what happens?
Yes, we do.
To the Chiefsaholic. The fans are worried. Reddit is going crazy. Hashtag where is Chiefsaholic
Oh, no.
starts trending. And if there's one thing that we know is, like, muddy buddies, it is that the internet is incessant.
Yes.
And it does not like not having an answer.
Exactly.
So online sleuths are going nuts. Like, where's Chiefsaholic? He said he was going to be at this playoff game. He wasn't at the playoff game.
Oh,
if he was
wow.
at the playoff game, we would have seen him. Because
Right.
he shows up in a fucking wolf mask. And, like, big hairy arms and paws. Like, how do you even eat a hot dog with those things? A Chiefs fan who also happens to be a teacher's assistant in Oklahoma finds... Hang on.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you see the picture, I'll post a picture of it. The hands, they're gloves, because you can see the...
They really are.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
So this teacher's assistant in Oklahoma finds not his body. I know you were wrong. His mugshot.
Oh.
So who is this masked man?
Yeah.
His name is Xavier Budabar.
Okay, yeah.
He was born in Kansas City.
Okay.
His dad leaves the family. It's him, his mom, his younger brother, and his father. When he's around 10, his dad leaves. His mom is left to care for the two of them.
Okay.
It's not too long before they are unhoused. And so the kids end up in foster care. The mom ends up in some kind of like a halfway house.
Gotcha.
She gets, with the first money that she manages to scrape together, she gets a bicycle and she rides a bicycle like 4 or 5 times a week to make sure that she can go and visit them while she is earning money, because she has to have a certain amount of income before the kids can be returned to her. And meanwhile, they really, like, football is something that they bond together over.
Gotcha.
So football is like the family thread.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's murky, like his whole young life. But eventually they will all be together again, although they do seem to largely still mostly be unhoused.
Gotcha.
Like throughout this story, you will find that like most of the time they are all living out of cars.
Okay.
Either separately or together. Somehow, in the aftermath of all of this guy is going to all the NFL games, though.
Yeah. How?
Right! Literally, I have that written. Well, we're going to start with December 16th, 2022.
Okay.
We're in Bixby, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
There's a teacher's credit union.
Okay.
The teller, Mrs. Peyton Garcia, which, oh, God, if you watch... I'm going to tell you about a documentary at the end of this. If you watch it, she's kind of punchable. Like, she really is. I mean, I get that she's not the bad guy in all of this, but also... There's something about the way that she talks all the time that just like,
Gotcha.
You kind of hate her. Oh, wait. Oh. Okay, well, I guess she's dead now. So
okay.
It's okay. Patty Peyton Garcia.
Okay. Yeah, she just...
Anyway, I mean, she looks like just a random person, but
right.
In this documentary, she's kind of terrible. Pardon me. Anyway, she is front desk teller at a bank.
Okay.
Xavier rolls in, and he's wearing green sweats, a paintball mask, and gloves. And he comes in and he immediately jumps over the counter.
Oh my God.
Like, the counter is like as tall as our dining room table is here, and he just kind of hops right over it. And then he holds up a gun to her head and says, I need to get into the vault. Now, Patty immediately, very helpfully, flips him over to her supervisor. Because she's like, I don't have the code to the vault.
Right.
Do whatever you want to her, but leave me alone. I've always hated Brenda anyway. You know? And so the supervisor takes him into the vault. He seems to kind of know what he's doing. He has a bag and immediately puts like hundreds and only hundreds
oh, wow.
into the bag. Unlike the Loomis Fargo heist from last week. And then he stuffs the bag, he jumps out the door, he leaves. And he gets on a bicycle.
Oh. Because they don't have a car.
And the thing is, like, looking back, I'm like, he obviously had access to a car, but this is the way that he does it.
Okay.
He hops on a bike. Immediately, the people at the teacher's credit union that he robbed call the police.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, because it's a very small town and they have nothing else to do, they, like, put a net on the whole entire area.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And they catch him. From the time that he robbed the credit union to the time that he was apprehended. Would you like to take a guess? We're going to play high or low.
I'm going to say 5 minutes.
Higher.
20 minutes.
Lower.
15 minutes.
Lower.
12 minutes.
Lower.
9 minutes.
Lower. I'm just going to... 6.5 minutes.
That's all. Okay.
In between the commission of the robbery of the bank vault and when this man on his bike
is apprehended
and taken into custody, just blocks away. They do find on him a pellet gun. He didn't have a gun. He had like an airsoft, like a paintball gun.
Yep.
It even, in the photos that I saw, it even has like the bright orange tip.
The bright orange tip. That's how you know it's
not a gun.
Right.
He does have a ton of disposable gloves, which I heard in one source he explained away by, anytime I get like fast food or I wash my car, I pump gas, I use gloves so I don't have to touch. So he has a pellet gun, he has gloves, he has goggles, he's got the paintball mask that he's wearing, and he has $150,000 in cash. He also has a giant Chiefs tattoo on his arm. And so like the funniest thing. This is so petty, and it has nothing to do with the commission of the crime, but I couldn't leave this out. As they're booking him, and they notice the giant Chiefs tattoo.
Yes.
One of the arresting officers says, "Oh, you a Chiefs fan?" And of course, our guy says, "Yeah," because that's his whole personality.
Exactly.
And the cop says, "Well, a Raiders fan just arrested you."
Oh, no!
Now, here is where our story gets interesting. Xavier is charged with assault and robbery with a weapon. He is sentenced to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
His mugshot goes viral.
Oh,
The Chiefs fans are so behind him.
Oh, my God!
They're like, he might be a bank robber, but he's our bank robber. It's honestly reading this, like, looking over this, there's so many, like, comparisons to, like, the Luigi story, where I'm just like, there are people that, like, the getting away on a bike, and then the, like, swelling of public support.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're also about to play the 2023 Super Bowl. The Chiefs are, right? So he gets arrested. He gets a lawyer. The lawyer has his bond lowered and tries to allow for, like, hey, can't we just give him opportunity to travel so he could be at the Super Bowl?
Oh, my God!
For 2023. They don't do that, but
No.
they do lower his bond. They do let him out, and they do give him an ankle bracelet.
Gotcha.
And so he can't go to the Super Bowl, but he can watch the game, like, kind of, from prison.
Sure.
He has a ton of money on it. Honestly, like, woof, he's gonna clean up.
Oh, wow.
So he's watching the game from prison. The other prisoners tell him, as he's watching the game, and he's getting like, yeah, row, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. So Super Bowl he's out for, but, like, the games leading up to it, he's in prison. And the other prisoners are like, calm the fuck down, or we are going to beat the ever-loving crap out of you. Kansas City is going to the Super Bowl. He's going to be able to watch, but probably, like, just from a hotel room.
Right.
And he tweets. He finally has, like, access to his social media again, which he has, like, 50,000 plus followers.
Right.
You can put the wolf in a cage, but he's still going to howl for his team. So when the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, he ends up winning $155,000.
Wow.
He bets on Mahomes being the most valuable player, and he bets on, like, the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. So now he's got enough money. He's got the ankle monitor, the bank teller, meanwhile, not the one that he actually, like, led to the vault, but the one that just dealt with him for, like, 15 seconds in the meantime. And like I said, I mean, I am sure that was really terrifying. Mm-hmm. But God, if you watch this documentary, it is so hard to feel any kind of,
Okay.
it's so hard to feel any kind of sympathy for her at all. Like, she's so detestable. And she sues him in civil court for $10 million.
What?
I know.
Oh, my God.
Or $10.5 million. And everything she says, like, oh my God, her every statement has to, and I'm a mom, I'm a mother of two, and during those 5 minutes that were really scary 20 years ago, I had to think about the fact that my children might come home and not have a mom, and I'm like, your children come home and wish they didn't have a mom. Anyway, I'll leave that for you all to decide, but I'm not a fan. he gets a bail bondsman who is a Chiefs fan who pays like whatever is necessary for his $80,000 bond.
Oh, wow.
They get him out. March 2024. Before the court date, he goes missing.
Uh-oh.
They think he might be turning up at, like, the Chiefs draft. But no. So this is very recent.
Yeah, this is super
March
recent.
of this year. He goes missing. They find his ankle monitor, like, cut off and torn off. Now it's another charge, and it's going to be $1 million bond because he's skipped.
Yeah.
They know that he is always driven to games, no flights. That's another thing. Like, that's why he was so off the grid.
Because he always got a ride there.
He always drove.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's never... There are no flight records. There's also no employment record. And, frankly, there's no address. Apparently, he and his mom and his brother, they have always lived out of cars.
Oh, wow.
They've never... which, that is kind of the part that, like, weird and doesn't sit right with me is like, all right, your mom and your brother, you know, have supported you all of the way, but you guys are living out of cars, but you're making enough money to do all of this?
I know, that's crazy.
You can't put them up in, like, some kind of an apartment or anything, ever? Turns out, though, Xavier has been doing this for a while.
How long?
16 months.
Okay.
He's been robbing on the road.
Oh!
So he follows the Chiefs. And his thing is, you drive into town, you find a little bank near the town, you go in, you rob the bank, you get out, and then you go to the next town.
Oh my god! So he's been robbing banks for 1.5 years.
Uh-huh. He has come away with, in 16 months, across 7 states, almost $847,000.
Oh my god. Wow.
And apparently, so he wears the paintball mask and does the jumping over the counter maneuver pretty regularly, but there are even a couple of cases where it looks like he may have committed the robbery in his Chiefs wolf mask. But he's just robbing in areas he's visiting for games. And again, the Twitter verse is like, he's a bank robber, but he's our bank robber. And then all of the sports betting, he's laundering the money through casinos.
Oh my god.
So you get money and it might be tracked, but then you go take it to a casino and you win it or you lose it or whatever. And either which way, the money you get back is different money.
Yes, it is.
He skips on bail. He skips on the bail bondsman that was the Chiefs fan that paid all the money out. And so that bail bondsman paid like his $8,000 bail, which means he's on the hook for $80,000. And if he can't pay it, he's going to lose his license to be able to do what he does.
Oh my god.
So it gets down to the last day of bail, and they can't find the guy. So this bondsman has to write a check for $80,000. It's pretty much going to ruin him and his family.
Wow.
So he takes the check in, and he turns it in. And a couple of hours later, the feds grab Xavier.
Oh, wow.
They finally get him. He had committed some kind of a small crime in California, but they already have his prints in the system, and so they're able to kind of put him into longer custody. He was just sentenced in the fall of last year, 2024. 17.5 years with no parole, and then 3 years of conditional release. And he still does owe $10.5 million to this bank teller who had to have a really hard day at work.
Oh my God.
There is a documentary that goes way, way, way into this. It's 2.5 hours long. That's one of the reasons that it took me so long to get my notes together.
Gotcha.
A lot of it is not what I have told you. I just gave you the beats in this story, but if you want a little bit more, I would recommend watching Chiefsaholic, a wolf in Chiefs clothing on Amazon Prime. My other sources today were ESPN.com, of course, the ever-present Wikipedia, NewYorkTimes.com, and Ridiculous Crime Pod, which is one of my very favorites, also did a story that kind of touches on most of the beats that I found from those other sources. But Super Bowl is coming. Place your bets. Don't harbor any fugitives.
Exactly.
And frankly, go Chiefs. Oh, that was the other thing. It was kind of cute. One of the things that I heard him say is when Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift started dating, he was like, well, I was the most famous Chiefs fan up until Taylor Swift came along.
That's great.
But go Swifties, go Chiefs.
Wow.
Yay Super Bowl. Eat a ton of chicken wings. Don't rob any banks or credit unions. And that is my story.
That was awesome. I had no idea.
I know.
Not a clue.
Well,
so I think this is where we take a break.
This is where I'm going to take Janet out back and introduce her to the wolf pack. And we'll be back in just a moment with What's Nice.
We'll be back with What's Nice. If you enjoy getting muddy with us, here are some ways to support our podcast. If you have any ideas, please submit them to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Make sure to like and subscribe on the platform where you're listening. And of course, a good review will bring in more listeners. Always leave a comment on YouTube because that will definitely bring in more listeners. Join our Facebook group where we can discuss the episodes and hear suggestions. And of course, tell your friends, your families, your neighbors, your next door neighbor, that crabby lady in the office who sits next to you and gossips all the time. Make sure and tell them. Talk about our podcast as much as you can. And now, let's get back to What's Nice. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And now we're back for What's Nice.
We are back for What's Nice.
Yeah.
Janet, what do you have for us?
Well, you know, we did the zoo in Decatur, Illinois. So I'm going to go now to the Lincoln Theater in Decatur, Illinois. The Lincoln Theater, it was built in 1916. It's the downtown Lincoln Square Theater. It provides a unique atmosphere for an experience unmatched by the surrounding area venues. They have partnerships. They are a nonprofit, so they do have all kinds of shows that happen there. The Lincoln Square Theater will leverage its regional and national centralized location to optimize the tourism potential of Decatur, Illinois. A wide variety of entertainment catering to the diversity of our audience, and the envisioned expanded flexible layout will allow for multiple tailored events simultaneously. It's a cute theater. I like how they have the picture here. With the,
it's got
the
a
Mustang.
gorgeous marquee.
Yes.
It's got like an old school, like big 1930s style
Yes,
movie
absolutely.
theater marquee.
They recruit volunteers to help with cleanup and renovations. They implement flexible design ideas for new and creative events. They align with key partners of non-for-profits and businesses, and they create a calendar for entertainment and rental booking. So it's a neat theater. They have all sorts of shows there. I was kind of looking through there, and it looks like they have a lot of bands who go through there. They have a casino night.
Right.
Motown Review. They have a St. Patrick's Day party. So all sorts of things there. Oh my god.
Okay.
So 2023 Little River Band played there. That was the first band I ever saw live.
Was that?
Yeah, Little River Band.
Your very first concert?
Very first concert at the
Mine
Mini.
was the B-52s.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And Ziggy Marley.
Sweet.
In 1989.
But yeah, it's a really short, sweet. What's nice, because I've already,
That's all right.
There's more than one thing in Decatur.
And a lot of times I feel as the podcast has progressed, like for the most part, like our What's Nice have gotten
A little shorter
and sweeter, but we always look. Sometimes some not nice things happen in perfectly nice cities, and we don't want to be there just to like crap all over them. So if I tell you about something bad that happens, we're also going to tell you about something good that happens.
Exactly.
I almost picked a restaurant in Kansas City because I'm craving it and like wanting to go again, and I might even go for my birthday in a few months. But that's not what we're here to talk about today.
So what's nice?
Today, from Kansas City, Missouri, I have selected the World War I Museum.
Oh, nice. I've been there before.
Have you? It's so good.
It is huge.
It's so good. I mean, it's another one of those museums where Ryder is more of a history. I mean, I'm a history buff, but I don't really care for military history.
Right.
And you always worry that when you go to something like that it's just going to be like guns and tanks and, all of that, and just not what is going to capture my interest. But they really do include a lot of the social history and like what the war was like on the front at home. The World War I Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. First of all, I didn't know this. It was built not long after World War I.
Right, exactly.
In 1919.
Yep.
Citizens of the United States raised $2.5 million in 10 days.
Wow.
10 days to build this museum. It opened in 1921 as a monument, and in 1926 they had built the World War I Memorial there,
right?
Which is the big. It looks a little like the Washington Monument.
It does.
Yeah. By 2006, there was a full-on museum and interpretive center, and that's what we went and visited, and it was lovely. They have some VR experiences. They have an architecture tour. And what I found is that they're going to, on the 18th, just a week from now, so too late for us to get there, I guess they, for some reason, have a Winnie the Pooh Day.
Okay.
That's going to be there. And they also have the Harry S. Truman Library, the Presidential Library. Harry S. Truman, the only Missouri president.
Exactly.
Is like his library is kind of there on the grounds. And so, yeah, worth a little trip. I'm actually just kind of now, leave it in the comments. I'm turning 50 in June, and I'm looking at maybe a place to do a quick little weekend getaway.
Nice.
For my birthday. So leave your suggestions.
Happy early birthday.
Kansas City. Oh, God, like months early. No. Don't wish me a birthday now, girl. You know we're going to have like so many episodes between now and then. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I think Kansas City is kind of on the short list because I've only ever been there for like one long weekend.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it. And
yeah, Kansas City is very nice.
It's worth going back for.
Yep, absolutely.
So, anyway, the World War I Museum, though, if you are anywhere near Kansas City, definitely make some time to go and see it. It's worthwhile. You can do it in a day. And it's interesting. And even if you're not like a military history person, there's enough of the other stuff there.
Yes.
That you won't feel like you've wasted your time.
Right. I like the cars, the vehicles they have in there. They show a lot of the uniforms, like nurse uniforms and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the wax and all of that stuff.
That's really, really, really neat. So
cool.
Cool.
But, all right. Well, we have spent a pleasant evening.
Exactly.
Telling stories together, and we hope that you're enjoying it too. And I guess this is almost time for us to sign off.
Yeah, and I think there's last thing we have to remind people to do.
There is one more thing that we do need to remind people about. Janet, can you think of what that is?
I think it's to stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.